Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn, and I'm a psychic, a medium, and a way shower / teacher. If they give me any more titles, I'm going to have to get 2 business cards printed up. But here we are today. It is Way Out Wednesday. So thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate you checking out this video. Today, folks, we're going to talk about soul contracts. This is a really vast subject. So this is an introductory course, if you will, an introduction to soul contracts. You guys can research this and dive into it and find out a lot more about it through many, many sources. And one of those sources is through this book. You can see by how, if the light would play it right. But anyway, those are all yellow Post-it notes. Soul Contracts book by Danielle McKinnon. Soul Contracts by Danielle McKinnon. It actually says right here on the cover of the book, find harmony and unlock your brilliance. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of bull hockey because I signed a contract that has me here in this life where I forgot everything that I knew before I got here when I signed the contract. So think of it like this. You're in between lives. You're up there chilling out, having a well-deserved break in between these pretty intense human incarnations. And then all of a sudden, I'd like to think of it as this kind of gangsterish looking angel shows up and says, all right, we're ready for your next mission on Earth. And we have a list of things that your soul wanted to complete or wanted to be challenged by so that it could grow. And because you're in this higher vibration place, you say, yeah, let's sit down, let's work it out. I'm really excited. I know I'm going to do better this time. I know I'm going to tackle all of those issues that I couldn't quite seem to get done last time. Let's do it. And then you check all the boxes. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Hey, I bet I can do even more. Give me 5 more things I can do. And give me some really, really terrible parents or a really bad, let's say 2 bad relationships and a failed career. I can do all that. Yeah. My soul will learn so much. It'll grow and expand, and I will benefit from that. I will benefit from that. The way you would think about it would be, those are going to be hard lessons. Perhaps my heart may, take a few gut punches. maybe I'll suffer some losses. But you know what? Those are learning experiences. Every time I have a loss, every time I overcome something like bad parents or maybe even some physical situations, I'm becoming a better person. I have an opportunity. Now, you're not automatically becoming, but you have an opportunity. And of course, from that vantage point, it all seems doable, doesn't it? Doesn't it all seem doable? Next thing you know, somebody's slapping your behind and you're crying because you're a baby. And here you are in a human body. Our souls are everlasting, never, ever die. Now you've been issued this human body with this human life that you designed based on some things that your soul wanted to accomplish or learn, or maybe even just experience. And I would say this, that when you're on the other side, in between lives, it's really about experiencing. It's getting an opportunity. It's all about the opportunity. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm going to have an opportunity. And don't laugh, because I'm telling you, this is the energy that I'm in. But the Susan part of this equation wants to laugh, because I was going to say, oh, this is wonderful. I'm going to be able to experience home insecurity, shelter insecurity. Who wants to experience that, right? But sometimes we do. You know, I mean, they're telling me, and this is really true if you're a sailor, I guess, but calm seas do not make an expert sailor. It's the same thing in your life. If you're never challenged by anything, then you never grow. We're just not going to grow on our own. Typically, we're going to seek comfort. We're going to seek stasis. We're going to seek a level, you know, kind of in our life, a calmness, right? I mean, that's what we all want, right? It's this calm. And, you know, you can, if you have the forethought and you're not a masochist, when you're up there, you can say, you know what, I've had some just hard lives. I want to just go into this incarnation and I want to be chill. And you know people like that, and I know people like that. Their lives are chill, just chill. You know, they don't have all the money in the world, but they're not poor. They don't have maybe the best of this or the best of that, but they're very content. And they just don't seem to have any big, you know, losses or challenges. And then other people have challenge after challenge, or loss after loss after loss. And this is because your soul wanted to experience this. Now, this is where it really gets tough. And I want to tell you that you can click off of this video if you haven't already, and you can say this is bull hockey, and that's fine. Because I also understand that none of us want to say, that I signed up for this horrible thing to happen in my life. Nobody wants to think that. Why would I sign up for this horrible thing that happened in my life? Well, here's the thing, folks. I lost my mom when I was 7. That was not so good. Was raised by a mentally challenged and in every way you can even imagine, from addictions to everything, much older sister. I had a really crazy childhood. I've had losses throughout my life. I'm sure some of you have had worse, some of you have had less, but I will say I haven't had a cakewalk in this life. Now, can I look at this and say that I asked for my mother, that I picked this situation, that I picked this mother that's going to you know, cross over when I'm 7 years old? It depends on frankly, it depends on the place you're at in your journey, in your soul's journey. Some of us just cannot accept that, and that is fine. There is no judgment here. That is fine. If this doesn't resonate with you, I understand. Believe me, trust me, I understand. If you're still watching and you're intrigued or it resonates with you, let's continue. So, what are soul contracts? Well, again, when you're on the other side, and I'll give you another book, and I don't have a hard copy of it, but honestly, this is a great book to read. It's going to help you understand so much about why you're here, how you got here, all those kinds of things. And that book is called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. And this guy is a PhD, he's crossed over now, a PhD hypnotist, psychologist, I think. And he was regressing patients, and he accidentally regressed one back to the time between lives. And he thought, this is interesting. I'm going to try to do this now. And he has hundreds and hundreds of case studies of people that he's regressed back that talk about this time between lives. When you make your soul contract, when you set those contracts up, So those two books can just help you tremendously. But I would tell you that in my situation, let's just use me. I said, okay, I have perhaps, and this is all connected, right? Your past lives are connected, because where do you think you got your soul contracts? From your past lives. You know, your past lives are where you made decisions. And then those decisions, you decided, well, it didn't work out so well, or I really, when I made this decision, which was the best thing I could think of at the time, nobody's judging. This is not about judging. This is simply noting where you are and then how to continue. The furthest thing from your spirit guide's intention is to judge. Your past life, you decided, well, I'm going to try to solve this problem by doing this. Well, when you did that, there was, let's say, a byproduct. Something happened that then created another situation that then you had to deal with. So perhaps in my past life, I either experienced abandonment or I caused abandonment. And so when I was between lives, I said, yeah, wow, that last life, and then perhaps it could be multiple lives. I mean, I could say, gosh, the last 5 lives, I've really experienced this abandonment issue from all angles, except for this, except for a parent. Okay. And I want to go ahead and experience it from that angle. You guys, what we're doing is we're becoming experts. If you have any hobby and you always do your hobby a certain way, and then you meet somebody and they say, hey, I do it like this. And you're like, well, I never thought about that, right? I never thought to do it in this other way. Let me learn about the way you do it. Now, that's called mastery, isn't it? When we learn something from multiple different angles, we master it. What we're doing here as humans, we're trying to master our human lives, the human condition, as it were. So perhaps in my past life, I said, I really would like to experience abandonment in a new way. And so I chose my mom, because in her soul path, her contract, she decided that she was going to experience leaving life early. So we connected and said, great, you're going to be my mom. I'll be your daughter. I'll learn this from you and you'll learn this from me. Okay. Now we talked a little bit in a previous video of Waaay Out Wednesdays about our soul families. And our soul family is a family that we typically incarnate with. Now that soul family can be, 5 or 10 or 15 souls. And in one life, your brother may be your husband, or your husband may be your mother. Because when we cross over, it's all energy. It's not about female or male, or even about cultures. It's about energy. And it's about helping each other out, right? So again, in my situation, I said, hey, do you want to help me with this thing that I want to learn? And I can help you with this thing that you want to learn. Okay. So that's kind of how it sets up. You have something from a past life that was a situation that you experienced that you would like to understand more, that you would like to experience in some way so that you can understand it more or master it. Now, once you feel like you've mastered that situation, then you can move on. And I really believe it's up to you. When you cross over, it's not like somebody says you have to do it again. It truly is that in our energetic form, we want to do it again. We want to master. We want to grow the soul. And frankly, Earth is, whereas it is a very hard place to incarnate, and there's no bones about this, it's also a sought after place to incarnate, because this is where the growth is on sort of a fast track, if you will. If you incarnate in another place and another planet or another dimension, you may incarnate in that dimension of that planet, and that planet may be known for one particular type of soul growth. Like maybe on that planet, the soul growth is around, what they're showing me is, I have to describe this again. So what I see are two energy bodies. Now, they don't look human. They don't look alien. Let's just call them blobs. Now, these blobs have a blinking light inside of them. Now, how I see it, and this is open to interpretation, and if you find another source that makes more sense to you, please check that out. But as these blobs come into contact, they're sending information telepathically and energetically. And if you're in alignment with that energy, then it's fine. You can communicate or come into alignment with that energy. If you're not in alignment with that energy, then it's almost like you repel. You can't come together. It doesn't mean that energy's bad or your energy's bad. It doesn't mean that those terms don't exist up there. It just means that's not a compatibility. So there may be another planet where you go to work on compatibility, and that's it. You just go there to be exposed to energies that you're not compatible with, and you try to erode that resistance until you can be compatible with an energy that you're not natively or innately compatible with. Are you guys following me? On that planet, that might be the offering. You go there to learn that particular lesson or to grow your soul in that particular way. Now, on Earth, well, it's a smorgasbord of available lessons or soul growth opportunities. So here we have so many things at once thrown at us. Gravity being one, being in a human body being a big issue, losing all of our abilities, our memory of why we came here. First off, we don't have any memory about why we're here. We have no idea. This rudimentary communication system, which is not only speaking out loud, but it seems to go through this filter of emotion and limiting beliefs that you've been taught, cultural beliefs, all kinds of filters that your thinking, communication goes through and then comes out of your mouth. This is all very tricky. Remember, your last life or the time between lives, it was a very pure form of communication. Very pure, very simple. But now there's innuendo, there's deceit, there's moods, right? There's all kinds of different things that just cloud the communication, regardless of everything else, of our human mindset. The human mindset is so different. So you came here to experience that. And I'm going to be honest with you and say, there are lines of souls, a queue of souls waiting to come here. There are more souls that want to come here that can come here. There's a backlog of souls that want to come to Earth, because this is the place where you really learn, where you really can grow your soul very quickly. Challenging, but very quickly. So in this situation, what I would suggest to you watching this video, and what happened for me when I had my spiritual awakening, which I have talked about. You can go to my YouTube channel. You can click on the eyeball. It should take you to my main page. You can go to playlists. You can see all kinds of videos there. I talk about my awakening there. But I will say that this book was a big part of how I got where I am today, because we have wiped our memory clean, and we come here and we just have no clue about anything. Getting a clue about why you came here, getting a clue about what you're trying to do in this life is everything. It's everything. Once you know, oh my gosh, my soul contract is XYZ, or 1 through 10, or however it is for you. Well, then you can start paying attention to that and then working towards understanding it, kind of mastering it, which only may be to acknowledge it and to release it. In many cases, that's the only thing that needs to be done, right? So the energy is really strong in here right now. So this, you guys, I can't be more serious when I say that learning these things can change your entire life. It did mine. It did mine. And I will say that I still uncovered a new contract even just about 6 months ago. So, I don't think you're going to just, uncover them all and just, check. What happens is our soul, our energy body can only handle so much at once, right? I mean, if you start this work and you're already super busy and you're overworked or overloaded, or you're not in the mental space to tackle a big internal, shadow work kind of thing, then you're going to go slower at this, which is perfectly fine. Even if you uncover 2 of your soul contracts and work on those to release those, you're going to experience huge breakthroughs. Now, what happens is, they're showing me in our body, we have the chakras, and I'm not going to go into detail about the chakras, but I want to just say that we have this energy highway that runs down our spine, basically from our head all the way down to the base of our spine. Let's call that our main energy highway. Now, what happens is, just being human, just being born a human and sort of trying to get through our human lives, we end up with blocks in our energy highway. Now, those blocks might be centered in a chakra, or they just might be centered in your chi, your energy. Working on, or I should say, identifying and then working on and releasing just one soul contract is like taking a boulder out of the river of your energy highway. Now, what happens when that happens is your chi, or your energy, is flowing easier. Imagine putting a big boulder in the middle of a stream, and the stream gets stopped. And then it starts backing up, right? And then it makes a lake, like a beaver dam. Well, imagine taking that stone or that beaver dam and removing it, and that water rushing along its intended path. Imagine that energy that you're going to feel. Imagine the health benefits of that. The physical health benefits, the mental health benefits. But also, this changes your vibration. So we have a beaver dam backing up our energy, we're sluggish. We're not vibrating quite as highly as we could be. So once we remove that, you start vibrating higher. And when you're vibrating higher, that typically means you're happier. You're a little bit more happier. You're maybe a little bit more joyful. You certainly are feeling better in your body. And you have more hope because now you've seen something clearly that was holding you back and you fixed it. Again, even if that's just letting it go. But now you realize that was a benefit and you did something and you feel good about it. That also means that abundance comes in. Monetary abundance, love abundance, joy abundance, an abundance of peace, an abundance of safety, an abundance of health. Because now you're matching the vibration of those things. So, our soul contracts, and I make fun of them, and they certainly can feel, like I signed some, contract that I don't think I signed it because, and I actually printed up a T-shirt that said I never signed that contract, because when we're here in our human lives, it feels, come on, why would I do that? Exactly. Back to that whole statement of who in their right mind would ask to go through this terrible thing? So you have to elevate, you have to kind of really step outside, right, of the human experience to see why you would do that. If you can, and this is a very helpful thing, if you can step way outside of your human experience and see yourself from an observer point of view, well, then you can see the forest and the trees. You can see Susan as a 7-year-old, and you can see her as a 57-year-old, and you can see how that event, really changed her life. And I will share with you that I recently, when I got this latest soul contract that I figured out, I'm sort of kind of working through them, right? You don't want to learn about 10 soul contracts at once. Nobody wants to do that. So they kind of feed you 1 or 2, and then you have a sort of you have a suspicion that there's 3 or 4, but you don't really know, but it's kind of out there. So this latest one that they gave me, I remember saying to my spirit guides, now I did this, I learned some of this in meditation. But if you meditate, it creates an open space for them to communicate with you. That communication does happen in the meditation. But surprisingly, meditating creates an open space for them to communicate with you the next day, the next week. That opening kind of stays open for much longer. So you can get this guidance dropped into your awareness through a thought, an idea, a knowing, much later. So I remember saying to them, well, I swear this still cracks me up. I said to them, well, if I hadn't chosen my birth family, if I hadn't chosen the birth family that I did, I would have totally, like aced this life. I would have aced it. I would have aced everything that I came here to do. I could have gotten it done by the time I was 30. Easily. I mean, like slam dunk, home run, touchdown. Why did I choose such a hard birth family? And their answer was, and it still cracks me up because on one hand, I can see myself saying this because we kind of keep the kind of the broad sense of our personality stays similar throughout your lives. So I can see myself saying this, but apparently, according to them, and I have not seen the videotape. I mean, I want document, I want evidence, but according to them, I said I wanted to keep this life sporting. Sporting. Like, I didn't want to make it too easy. I wanted it to be challenging. I wanted it to be challenging. Well, I sure got it. Let me tell you, I got it. But because I did choose for it to be challenging, they also told me recently that I don't have to come back if I don't want to. So that's like the holy grail. Like everybody says, oh gosh, I don't want to come back. And people often say in readings, please tell me I don't have to come back. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, you don't have to come back. I mean, but I'm also going to tell you that when you get to the other side, in that space between lives, you're a lot more confident. You're a lot more confident up there than you are here. You know, up there, you're like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I know I can do it. And, you know, and I can see them going, no, I think you should take this off your list. Oh, no, I'm sure I can do it. That would be me, right? The overconfident, rah, you know, give me 3 extra things, you know, I can do it all. Crazy. So here's what you can do. If you would like some keys to unlock your soul contract, I can give you 3. And I talked about this in the last video. So this must be something that is prominent in, this is unusual, but you can get an Akashic Records reading. So the Akashic Records is the records of all your incarnations. All your incarnations are, you know, here's the book of last incarnation. Here's the book of the 5th incarnation. So you can get an Akashic Records reading and you can ask them, what are my soul contracts? What is it that I'm supposed to be learning? Now, again, if you get 10 soul contracts, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, that's just overwhelming. You're not going to want to do anything. It's going to seem like it's too much. Truly, you really want to work on them one at a time. This is not easy stuff. If it was easy, I would have aced it right when I was 20 or 25, right? If it was easy, I wanted it to be sporting. So you can get an Akashic Records reading. You can also get a past lives reading. So for me personally, I used 3 things. I mean, I used this book, Danielle McKinnon, Soul Contracts. First, this was a game changer for me personally. Maybe something else will be a game changer for you. Also, Journey of Souls was a game changer. It just put me in the right mindset. So that then when I got my Akashic Records reading done, you know, several years later, I was ready for that information. Okay. The other thing is past lives reading. I learned from my past life reading one of my soul contracts. Now, here's the thing, you guys. When you learn about a past life and you learn about one of your soul contracts, now, how does that look? Well, what happens is, let's say you had a past life where you were terrible with money and you know, but you ended up in this life, you managed to have a house and a family. And let's say you were the breadwinner of that situation. But because you often made sort of not the greatest decisions with money, at some point you lost everything. You lost the house, you lost the business, you lost everything. And then let's say you had to go to live with let's say it's more than likely, if this is a past life in our dimension, that you're probably have been a man. And then let's say that in that incarnation, you had to go live with your wife's family, which was a failure. You went to her family for shelter and food and help because you were a failure. You lost everything. Right? Now, that's a past life. Now, imagine how that can play out in the next life. Let's say this is the next life. It can play out in the sense that you never take chances, never. you get a job that pays you a paycheck because you never want to take a chance with money. And even though the job, you don't like the job, you never ask for a raise and you never leave the job, and you stay in a job that's terrible and underpays you because you don't want to risk any money. You'd rather have a little bit of money and a steady job that you hate to keep that security, right? Or perhaps in this life, you decided that you would marry someone who had all the money. So you didn't ever have an opportunity to lose the money, right? You gave all that responsibility to your spouse. Now, if you do something like that, what you're doing is you're not addressing in both of those situations, honestly, you're not addressing what you came here to learn. You're not addressing how to trust yourself with money, how to be better with money. You're not learning any of that. So that lesson is going to come to you from other people or in other ways. So in the first example, you have this terrible job, terrible money, but you're scraping by and you just clinging to some sort of normalcy or some sort of security, financial security. Now, because you came here, this is where it's going to get tough. 1-800-SPIRIT Guides, press 1 for complaints, because you came here to learn the lesson, to be either to trust yourself with money or to learn how to use money or how to be better with money. That lesson's going to come to you. So even if you say, well, I'm just going to get this job, then what can happen is you have this terrible job and you get laid off from it. So then you experience the same thing over again, did you not? Here you are again with no job, no money, just like in the last life. You were trying, you did everything you could to just hold on to that financial stability, and it still went south. Patterns. Look for the patterns. Now, let's say that you married somebody and you said, yeah, I'm not going to do that again. I'm smart. I'm going to marry somebody. Now, you don't really have a knowledge of this, but our past lives flavor our actions. We often don't realize it. We're not aware of it, but they are flavoring us. And I use flavoring, but you could call it a filter. So you're seeing through the filter of this past life, but you don't realize it. So let's say that you marry someone. Well, here comes your lesson. You asked to learn it. You wanted to learn it. You signed a contract. Your lesson in that life might be that, well, your spouse divorced you, left you, took everything from you. Now you're back to zero with no money, no security. Those were your lessons you were supposed to learn. Money equals security, security equals money. So what happened in both situations? You had an opportunity. Remember, they said we want an opportunity to experience things. You got an opportunity to experience the lesson again. Now it's up to you. Once you lost that terrible job and now you're on unemployment, your unemployment's running out, and you're really thinking this is it, I might be homeless, whatever's happening. Well, let's say you go out and get another terrible job. Okay, I'll just go get another job. You get another terrible job. It's going to keep happening. You're still going to have things happening in your life around your soul contract. If you went out and got a better job, a job that seemingly is above your abilities, that would be learning the lesson, because you're betting on yourself. I trust myself. I trust myself with money. I trust myself having money. Does that make sense to you guys? If you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, the lessons are going to keep happening over and over again. So where in your life can you look back from this vantage point right now and see patterns around relationships, be it with your parents, your spouse, your kids, your coworkers? Because when I say relationships, I mean relationships. It doesn't have to be your spouse, any relationship, friends. Now, you might say, well, interestingly enough, I have this problem with my friend relationships that keeps repeating, but I don't see that same experience in my personal relationships. And that's true. That can happen too. Because when you designed your life, you either said, I want to experience this in all my relationships, or I really want to experience this in my marriage or my spouse or my partner relationships, but not my friends, or I want to experience with my friends and not my spouse. So you could set up your life to that degree. Now, it also means that perhaps you learned the lesson when it comes to one or the other. Perhaps you saw your parents and you learned a lesson about relationships from your parents that matches your soul contract. So you applied that lesson to your spouse. Okay? Maybe the lesson was when you were growing up, you needed to learn to stand up for yourself. And maybe one of your parents was a doormat. And then at some point in their life, while you were still learning from them, so it could be sometime in that time between, say 6 when you can really know what's going on, and say 18, that doormat parent said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm kicking you out. I'm standing up for myself. And they changed their life. You said, bingo, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to learn from that example. So you could have learned the soul contract lesson in regards to relationships through a parent. And now you're applying that lesson in your own romantic relationship, but you didn't learn the lesson, or you can't apply the lesson to the friends, right? Do you guys understand? You can learn the lesson, but not learn it all the way. You can learn it situationally. And perhaps you learned the lesson with friends when you were 12. Maybe you learned a really hard lesson with a friend. And so you realized, I have to stand up for myself. I don't want to put up with this. So now as an adult, you've learned the lesson around relationships with friends. We all know people like this that stand up to their friends, but are doormats for their spouse, or are a doormat for their spouse and stand up to their friends. Don't we know people like this? Aren't some of us like this? Well, you learned half of the lesson. You learned this part of the lesson. So go through your life and note the patterns. What patterns do you see popping up over and over again? Write them down. Write down the pattern. Then write down why you think it's happening. What is the common denominator? The common denominator is not one person if it's a pattern. You're seeing it in your boss, your spouse, your mom, and your best friend. Or you're seeing it in your work life, your home life at the same time. Or maybe relationships. This is the third serious relationship or third marriage that you've experienced. And the interesting thing is that you look back and you can say, well, these 3 people were all different. But when I really get to the bottom of it, the lesson is the same. Because guess what? They'll give you that lesson from a different angle, Remember, we talked about earlier about how when you learn a lesson from multiple angles, that becomes mastery. So in your life, they'll give you that lesson from 3 different angles. And the sad thing is that it looks different. When you're presented with it, it doesn't look like the same lesson. So you're happily get involved with that person. Happily. And then at some point in the middle of that relationship, you realize that this is the same darn lesson. But it didn't look like the same lesson, but it is the same lesson. It's all about experiencing all that you can experience and about mastering it and then letting it go. So what I like about, the readings is that I learned that I had this past life. And honestly, and I've talked about this in that video, in that particular past life, I swear to God, you guys, I was an alien. Now I'm a starseed. I haven't had many incarnations here on this earth. And I did a video about that too. It's all in Waaay Out Wednesdays. In that life as an alien, I'm experiencing in this life the same challenges that I did in that life. I really am. So that past life regression or that past life reading that I got uncovered a soul contract. The problem is that when you uncover these contracts, you don't know how to fix it. Right? I mean, that's the problem. Like, okay, I see it. I mean, okay, I get credit. I see it. I don't know how to fix it, but I see it. So then it can be kind of consternating to know that this is an energy or this is a behavior that you're experiencing or, using in this life, but you don't know how to fix it. So that's again why I like this book. And I don't know this woman. Of course, I'm not getting anything from telling you guys this. I'm just trying to give you the resources that help me. This book can help you sort of understand how to fix it. Okay? Because some of these readers, they just give you the information. This is your past life. I don't know where this is showing up in your current life, and I don't know how to tell you to fix it, right? So be gentle with yourself is the number one thing. Nothing that I've talked about is judgmental. There is no judging here except for what we do to ourselves. And it's not helpful to judge ourselves. It's a lower vibration energy. And when you are talking to yourself and trying to solve sort of what I would call sort of, I mean, it feels like a problem, but I would say trying to grow your soul. And if you're talking critically to yourself, then you're bringing in critical energy. If you talk gently to yourself the way you would a 3-year-old, have compassion. Oh gosh, Susan. Wow, you wanted to experience abandonment. I mean, you just got to get your head around that. That's going to take some time. Okay. You really wanted to experience abandonment. Okay. All right. Now, how is this showing up in your life? Over and over and over again in all areas of my life. Okay. So abandonment seems to be the theme of this party, of this life. All right. Well, how are you reacting to that? Right? How are you reacting to that energy? By holding people and things away, by pulling things close together? I mean, maybe both. So then you get to look at that. Okay, it doesn't work when I do this, and it doesn't work when I do this. That's not working. So how is the best way for me to deal with this feeling of abandonment? Or how is the best way for me to deal with this energy of perhaps a past life where I was so low in my confidence that everyone took advantage of me, and now this is happening in this life. So what you do is you just start taking baby steps. You're not going to solve this all in one afternoon. To be honest with you, it took several lives to get here. It's going to take a little bit of effort and a little bit of time to release it, to master it and release it. So whatever pattern you're picking up on, go to YouTube and start learning about it. How do I build my self-confidence? If that's one of your soul contracts, then start listening to guided meditations on increasing your self-confidence. Ask your spirit guides to help you increase your confidence. You can tell them, oh my gosh, I'm ready. I'm ready to increase my confidence. I'm happy to have the help. Please help me where you feel that it can be beneficial to me. If it's about money or abundance, okay, I'm ready to be abundant. I'm ready to look at the part of my soul that feels fear around having money. Now, you might say, I don't feel fear around having money and I don't have it. And what's the problem? I can tell you, if you don't have money, you've got fear. You've got a block, people. It's just as simple as that. What's important is to get past the ego thinking brain into the subconscious, into your heart, and potentially into a past life, and find out where that happened. Where in your lives did that message get lodged in your energy like a boulder in your energy stream, or like a beaver dam in your energy stream? And then release it. Take the boulder out, throw it to the side, let that chi flow, and just bask in the beauty of that energy, the beauty of safety, of abundance, of love. All of those things are every single human's birthright. It is only us that keeps us from experiencing that. Our own human foibles or nature, characteristics, and our unique environment here on Earth. So you can really change your life by looking at the patterns and the soul contracts that you have in this lifetime. And hopefully you found this video helpful, insightful, interesting, educational. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know how you're enjoying Waaay Out Wednesdays, okay? And take really good care of yourself. And please leave me comments. I feel like my viewers are the best commenters on all of YouTube land. You guys are just brilliant people. I always enjoy reading all of your comments. I don't always get to respond to all of them, but I am pretty active in the comments. I really try to be anyway. Take really good care of yourself, and we'll talk again really soon.